Fractions. It's Mrs. Poole.
And Mrs. Weeks. How are you, Mrs. Poole?
I am well for a Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon. That's when we're doing this.
Yes.
Now you've given it away. See, it's always a mystery otherwise. So, well, guys, we're talking about comparing I almost said fractions. Although this is very similar.
Very similar
But
to
we are talking about
fractions.
comparing decimals, and we introduced it today in class. So you got a little idea about what decimals are. Also, you should have some prior knowledge, right, from 4th grade.
I would hope so.
Yes, about tenths and hundredths place, and we just take it out one step further, and we talk about the thousandths place. So we've written up 3 different decimals here to take a look at, and what do you think, Mrs. Poole? What is your first glance at this? What do you think about our 3 different decimals here?
Well, when I'm looking at them, I see that we have 3 wholes, so we know that that's all the same.
And you
so
know what? Today
we don't have
kind
to
of
worry
tricked
about
people
the 3.
about that too, is that we really do need to pay attention to the wholes, because if I did actually write something like 4 and 2/100ths on here, that automatically becomes the bigger number because it has a bigger hole.
Because it has a bigger hole.
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm noticing that we have a number with hundredths,
Yeah.
a number with thousandths, and another number with thousandths.
Yep, we sure do.
So we don't
sure
have
do.
any numbers that are just with tenths.
No, we don't. No, we don't. So I like that they all have the same whole, because it really does make us have to focus on the decimal
Just
only.
the decimal.
Okay. What are some tricks, or what sort of things could we use to help us out here? Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that if I was just trying to order them from greatest to least, there's more in the tenths place with this one than there is with this one or this one, and that might help me. But what's another strategy I could use to make them easy to look at and kind of know what's the largest?
Well, my class today, we kind of looked at how we can make them equivalent, just like we did with the fractions.
Right.
So we can make them all, and I always want to do my largest,
Right.
Largest place value, sort of say. So I would want to make them all thousands. And the way that I do that is I just simply multiply it by 10 or just adding that 0.
Right, exactly. And
that
what we're
makes-
basically doing is we're going to add something outside of that place value so they all have matching place values. So in this case, the largest place value we have is to the thousandths place. And so the only one really that's not in the thousandths place is this 3 and 2/100ths. So I could make that 3 and
20,000.
very good job. So we could have that. So it would be 3 and 20 thousandths, and we could have 3 and 21 thousandths, and 3 and 126 thousandths. Boy, that looks kind of obvious now, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. It's very quickly I see a 126, a 21, and a 20. So if I were to order these, just looking based on their numbers, I would definitely see that 126 is larger than 21 or 20. But more than that, we also know that this has a tenths in it where these do not.
That's right.
So,
And thinking about our Twizzlers today, when we
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing tenths, those pieces were much larger
Oh, yes.
than when we were doing the hundredths and the thousandths. My goodness, those became almost
Oh, my goodness.
microscopic.
Yes,
so,
they did. That was pretty funny watching everybody
it
try to cut them that
was.
small, though. So, all right. So we would know that this 3 and 126 thousandths is obviously larger than the other two, because that tenths does, when we think about our Twizzlers, that tenth is definitely bigger than anything in the hundredths place. Well, what about these other two? They're pretty close.
They are. But as we were talking in class today, we always kind of look at it as, when I'm looking at it, I want to see which one is closest to that whole.
Right.
So if I was to put these, say, on a number line, my 3 and 21 thousandths would be closer just by a little bit, but it would be closer to my whole.
It sure is. Remember, we're building to get to that next hole, and this 21 is definitely closer than the 20. So not by a whole lot, like you
Not
said.
by much.
But, all right, and then here we go. Nice job. Well, that was fabulous. I think we should give them a few to try, maybe to put them in order.
I like that idea.
Okay,
I
all
like
right. Well,
that
then
idea.
let's. So, all right.
Practice, practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so why don't you give me a few? On the spot here.
Let's do 4 and 25 hundredths.
Okay. I had to wait for her to finish because I had to know what place to put everything in. So,
Then
Right.
let's do 4 and 15 thousandths.
ooh, okay.
And our last one, 4 and 6/10.
Ooh, all righty. Okay, well, I want you to put these in order from greatest to least, okay? And I want you to really focus on how did you make the decision that one decimal was larger than the other, or why was it smaller than the other, okay? Just because it goes out 3 places doesn't automatically make it a larger decimal. As a matter of fact, you need to remember our Twizzlers, and the further away from that decimal we get, actually the smaller we get. So,
Cutting it into smaller pieces. We're cutting it into many more pieces.
That's
Taking
right.
that whole and cutting it into many, many, many pieces when we get to that thousandths.
all right, you little rock stars, rock on with the decimals, okay?
Have fun!
Bye.